Welcome back to Android's Q&A. My name is Jayce, not Joyce, not Jason, but Jayce. And this is where we try and answer your most pressing Android questions. And today, the most pressing question is, the new year is upon us, coming soon. How do I become a better person? Are there apps out there that can help me be a better person and stick with my New Year's resolutions? Well, you have come to the right place, because I stay up late at night trying to answer those very questions. And last night I stayed up so late that I had a nightmare from rapping Rudolph. Come on, sit back, relax, put on your reindeer gear, get ready for a trip for some holiday cheer. Gonna take you for a ride to the Android zone. I don't need a spaceship, please, microphone. So hold on your lid, go gather your kid, cause I'll be answering Q&As for the rest of the vid. All right, we'll put away rapping Rudolph for now, but before we get to those New Year's resolution apps, I want to answer a question from Cy Ken Russell. Do you think that Google will be able to integrate Google Now on super budget phones? So Ken, that's really going to decide on how you define super budget phones. That term concerns me a little bit because you could be talking about ultra dirt cheap Android devices. And there is a lot of crap out there. My wife unfortunately bought our daughter a tablet that was, I don't know, but that thick. It was like 50 bucks and it was running a forked version of Android and it was horrendous. I mean, we didn't use it 10 minutes out of the box and it was so laggy and so slow. We just never used it again. It was horrible. And there are devices out there like that. But if you want to talk about entry-level phones like the Moto G, that is a fantastic phone for the price, and of course you can check out Joshua's detailed review of the device. But I also spoke to him last night just for you about the Google Now issue and how Google Now worked, and he said it worked great. Now it wasn't as fast as the Moto X or the Nexus 5, but it was comparable and it was a great phone for the price. You should check that out. So if you're talking about entry-level devices, I would go with something like that. The next question came from Strapanitis. Hey Jayce, what is system on a chip and why are Cortex processors included in the Snapdragon? Yes, so what is a system on a chip and how does it matter for me and my Android phone? Good question. You see, in the olden days when people used desktops, you had the major components of a computer integrated through the motherboard. But on a small tablet or a smartphone, engineers must economize on space. And so they've taken most of the components of that computing device and integrated them onto one chip called an integrated chip, or more commonly known as a microchip. This integrated package is called system on a chip. Now you also maybe were a bit confused about your terms there. You said, why is the Cortex on the Snapdragon? The Cortex is not included in the Snapdragon system on a chip. Snapdragon uses the Crate processor. The Cortex is used by the Tegra 4 processor. But great question. All right, since I was about 19, I had major plans to change the world, but I soon realized that none of that was even remotely possible unless I had some measure of self-discipline. And I didn't have much, and I had to work on it a lot. And since the advent of smartphones, it has actually helped me significantly. And I know coming up in the next week, people are going to be thinking about their New Year's resolutions to, change their lives, improve on things, whether that's how they eat, how they exercise, how they educate themselves, and they have various different goals. And I wanted to share with you the apps that I personally use. These aren't apps that I've, reviewing for just this segment. These are apps that I use almost every day, and I love them, and I wanted to share them with you. All right, the first one I wanted to talk about was Audible. For those of you who have goals that relate to your own education, your own career goals, Audible is fantastic. Why? Well, it allows me to, read and educate myself on the topics that I'm interested in while I'm doing other things. Because the biggest challenge with reading is that people don't have time to read. You have to sit down and read and be undisturbed. Well, with Audible, I can read while I'm driving, walking the dog, doing the dishes. My favorite thing to do, my favorite pastime, I could dump, 10 hours a day in it, is to play some of my favorite video games while I'm listening to an Audible book. And Audible is not a sponsor of this show, but hey, Audible, if you want to sponsor us, I will make you an Amazeballs commercial, okay? I love Audible, and let's talk about the apps, okay? So Audible has a great app both on Android and iOS. It's pretty much perfect in my opinion, except for two things. One, you can't do in-app purchases on both platforms, and two, they took out, they used to have it, but they took out the fast forward option. You have the rewind option for 30 seconds or 60 seconds within the book, but you can't fast forward anymore. So if you want to fast forward, you have to like scrub with your finger manually, and you're always going too far or not too far enough. But otherwise, amazing. I go through about 2 books a week on Audible. Just talk about the subscription model for a moment. If you become a subscriber, I think I'm like there's 2 levels to it. There's like a $19 or $17 option, and then there's a $22 option, the premium membership, and you get 2 credits per month or 1 credit per month. And most books can be bought for 1 credit. Some of the real premium ones take 2 credits, but then you get a discount on all the other books within their library. And I have bought their competitor audiobooks.com, and they're also really good. Their app does have the fast forward version, but the app isn't as pretty for sure, and they just don't have the same selection as Audible. And in the end, I went back to Audible because of their subscription model. It's just a little bit more cost effective in the long run. And for someone like me who reads so much, Audible is really fantastic. Check it out. All right, the next app is Runkeeper, and many of you will know about this. It basically tracks your exercise, whether you're running, walking, biking, hiking, or anything like that. And I use it for when I'm walking the dog, when I'm hiking, all that kind of stuff. It tracks my distance, my laps, organizes my goals and all that kind of stuff. And a voice will come on and tell me what pace I'm on in that lap, what distance I've gone, how far I have to go, all that kind of stuff. And it allows me to listen to my audiobooks at the same time it's playing on in the background. So it's really fantastic. The only drawback to it is that it gets expensive to operate because it does use GPS, and depending on your data plan, it can be expensive to operate. I've noticed a noticeable hike in my bill when I used Runkeeper a lot, but otherwise, fantastic. Now, the next app, I'm sure almost all of you use or have used to some extent in the past, but I'm going to talk about it because it's the app that's probably had the biggest practical impact on how I organize my life, and that is Google Calendar. Here's the thing. People like me who, loosely call themselves ADD, we don't just need reminders, we need harassment, right? And Google Calendar allows me to set up at least 5 reminders. On the iOS version, it allows me 10, and I use that one too. For reminders for appointments, for deadlines, phone calls, anything I need to remember to do, it will set up constant reminders. And I warn you, I have spent over $200 on different types of calendar apps because this was really important to keep myself organized. And I always came back to the Google Calendar, at least on Android, because it allowed me that kind of flexibility. The most important thing for me is multiple reminders, color coordination, that's really important, and automatically syncing up to the cloud, which it does all that really, really well. Google Calendar, love it. All right, the next app is an app and a gadget, and it is Fitbit. I bought Fitbit for like, I don't know, $110 or so a few months ago, and I like it. I like it a lot. I like it because it automates the process of tracking, my calories and my exercise and all that kind of stuff, and it doesn't require me to think about it very much. And I like that. I like that a lot. I just really need to remember to charge the Fitbit and sync it up with the desktop app, and it works really, really well. I don't have much experience with the mobile app, but when we're talking about New Year's resolutions, to be able to stick with one of these New Year's resolutions, you need as much of the process automated, so you're not thinking about it. And Fitbit does a fantastic job at that. For me, it was worth the money if you're willing to take your exercise seriously. All right, so the last app recommendation for this isn't an app at all. It's a book, and it's on Audible. You can also get it on Kindle, of course. And it is called The Power of Habit. And this is a fantastic, potentially life-changing book. Why? Well, I have read a number of different books, like at least a dozen, on the subject of self-discipline and changing habits and stuff like that. And a lot of them is basically they're inspirations. They're meant to encourage you to just have more willpower, to have more discipline, to be more determined. And that's not a really smart long-term strategy. The Power of Habit cites numerous case studies where people have studied how to change habits that have been formed over time, right? So if you have learned, like me, if you drink Coca-Cola, 8 to 12 times a day like I do, It's a very serious habit that I developed from childhood, and it's very, very difficult to stop. I have quit many, many times, and I hit like a 4-month barrier, and then, I end up going back to it. It's very, very difficult. But the power of habit breaks down how these habits form and the mechanisms behind changing them. And they cite some case studies where long-time habits have been changed. And for me, it helped me understand why I do some of the things I do better than any book I've read before. So check that out, The Power of Habit. It's both on Audible and Kindle. Check it out. Thank you for watching, Android peeps. Kindly accept my heartfelt best wishes for you and your family to have a happy holiday and a safe new year. You also don't want to forget my brothers in Android over here, Josh, Joe, and the tech ninja Kevin, who strive to be your source for all things Android. You can connect with me here on Google Plus or Twitter, and better yet, in the comments below, give us your questions, comments, or thoughts, and you could be in next week's Android's Q&A.